Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni, the Great Malabite. Good morning.
Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai.
Morning.
Yes, we'll start the review with this, but before then, just for the record, Onome Ebi, the captain of the Super Falcons, when she steps out for the first match at the Women's World Cup, she'll be setting a world record. 5 consecutive World Cup. She's aged 40.
Amazing.
She's 40 years old. So
Our record break.
we are going into...
That's in July.
Yes.
Then we have to start by beating Canada.
Yes.
Because Canada is the first hurdle that we have to cross.
Of course.
The Canadian team may be fighting their federation over allowances like our own people.
Yes.
But we have to cross
But
that.
let's just hope the girls are ready. Now, let's start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. The lead story, Tinubu's 30 men, 30 days, 30 challenges. President assures investors of policy consistency, improved business climate. Yes, 30 days has passed since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu assumed office as Nigeria's president. And of course, his actions, his appointments have shown a man who is ready to do the work. Yes, but the nature of the policies, the implementation, where opinions are still divided, whether he should have started his administration with removal of fuel subsidy, but it's been done. The impact, of course, is being felt all around the country, but the palliative he has promised still talk all the way. But we expect to see the impact. No, we expect to see this palliative as they are unfolded in the fullness of time. But we hope there will be more Nigerians still many Nigerians will still be in a position to enjoy the palliative when it comes, because many are really having tough times right now. In the markets, women are complaining. Both sellers and buyers are complaining. That's especially the housewives. How to deal with families and ensure that everybody has what they call belly full, as one columnist put it over the weekend. But the president has appointed a pointer to what is to come, the structure of his government, because we see key portfolios taking shape. Information, for instance, how will the new information minister play when there's already a strategic appointment of Dele Alake, who seem to be quite overbearing in that sector? Yes, and of course he made his outing with that repost to the EU election reports. Well, perhaps Dele Alake will need to tone down. The elections are over, unless he believes the elections are not over. They are over. We need to see a more toned down approach, because that position, I'm not sure he would like to be called an attack dog, as some have been called in the past. Well, but there are other key appointments which the president has made, which shows that at the level of the special advisors, a lot will be going on in terms of policy formulations. So when the ministers come, what will they be doing? Of course, implementation of the policies of the government, perhaps they will have taken better shape before the ministers even get appointed, nominated and approved by the National Assembly, and before they will take office. Now, if we just look at other newspapers quickly, The Guardian newspaper, Nigeria's The Guardian newspaper. Yes, the lead story there, economy awaits Tinubu's fiscal direction as uncertainty trails FX liberalization. Commercial banks stop treating BTA, PTA, other invisible requests. Yes, the Naira floated, harmonization of the exchange rate, but is the Naira still, is it available? Are those who need it, are they getting it? The manufacturers, even the parents who want to send their children to, who are sending their children to school outside the country, yes, you cannot deny them of what they want to do for their children. Now, just above that, APC crisis, Governors National Working Committee parley ahead of NEC meeting. But there's also a story above the masthead of The Guardian, the publisher's message, they call it. Yeah, it's 40 years of The Guardian newspaper. And of course, all who have been associated with The Guardian at one point or the other are celebrating. And of course, the message from the publisher, yes, the message from the publisher of The Guardian newspaper, Lady Maiden Ibru, yes, she's my sister from Delta State. She has also sent a goodwill message. The publisher's message, they call it, I rejoice with the associates.
Mrs. Ibru will be your auntie, not your sister.
No, okay.
Okay.
No, in the manner of speaking, okay. When you say Umeremi, we interpret it. She knows what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Not as in as my age mate. No. Umere. She knows what I'm talking about. Yes. So I rejoice with the associates and readers of The Guardian on the occasion of his 40th birthday. It is my pleasure to note that the newspaper, my late husband, talking about the late Alex Ibru, left behind 12 years ago, remains the flagship of the Nigerian press, despite all the rough economic weather. And of course, those they call the legends of The Guardian all sent their goodwill messages as well. And people like, yes, Ambassador Deleko, Mr. Femi Kusa, of course, the young-looking Emeka Izeze, the immediate past MD and of the Guardian newspaper, and Professor Edwin Madunagu, and of course, two Malabites also sent, who've been part of the Guardian newspaper, also sent their goodwill message. A certain Dr. Ruben Abati and Abraham Ogbodo, one-time editor of the Guardian newspaper, both Malabites, they also sent their goodwill messages. That's the Guardian newspaper, 40 years in existence. Congratulations, you say, to the Guardian newspaper and all who have been associated with that newspaper over time. Now, the Daily Trust newspaper is reporting renewed rice smuggling threatens local production. Contraband floods Lagos, other cities. Women, youth import through Benin, Niger Republic. It's dangerous. Millers warn. Presidency bomb on land border policy. Anchor borers won't be scrapped. A Greek fund. Of course, recall the Anchor Borers Forum program that gave a lot of facility to farmers to enhance farming, especially rice farmers. And we saw a lot of pyramids being launched here and there. But many have been asking, do we see enough Nigerian rice in the market? Have we been able to depress the price of rice despite the local production? Not exactly. But now smuggling is rampant. The government will also need to, we need to come up with its own policy on border to tighten the border, open the border, whatever the government wants to do, and the impact on the economy. Now, the Daily Sun newspaper, Tinubu talks tough on security, charges service chiefs to fix problem, demands synergy among them. NSA, yes, the service chiefs led, of course, the National Security Advisor led them to the president yesterday while they were having their first encounter with the president since appointment. I want to believe the message is clear. Deal with the security challenges in the land. And there are multifarious from the northeast where Boko Haram and ISWAP still have live activities, as it were, still having territories where they call their own. In fact, they are even fighting over territories between ISWAP and the Boko Haram. Now, the bandits in the northwest, north central, and security elsewhere. The service chiefs have their job well cut out for them. We need to see improvement in the situation and how they go about their duty. It is a no-brainer that when they collaborate, they cooperate, they work together, certainly better than when each of the armed forces work in silos. So the challenge is there. They've been charged by the president to bring insecurity under control, if not totally eliminated. Now, the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, presidential election petition, tribunal admits EU observer mission report as APC tenders Tribune newspaper edition as evidence. INEC closes case, Tinubu to defend election victory today. Yes, the controversial, it has become now, EU report was tendered yesterday at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, and of course it was admitted. And how the tribunal used that, we'll see at the end of the day. Now, another story below the photograph, the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. I didn't forge my UTME result. I printed the 362 score from JAMB portal. Mmesoma, my daughter had always come out best in her class, says father. 3 million naira scholarship stands if our investigation confirms results. Innocent. Soludo sets up probe panel. Of course, Ruben, Rufai, and Ayo, you are familiar with this controversy going on about who scored the highest mark in the last UTME exams. Well, I'm sure the authorities will investigate that thoroughly so that, one, a child is not vilified unnecessarily, or you get to the root of matter. If there are fraudulent intents, those behind it, you deal with the situation. But I think we've not heard the last of this. Now,
there's an update on that. She's been barred for 3 years now, so they found her guilty. So she's been barred from taking any UTME.
Well, that's what JAMB says, right now, because ab initio, JAMB denied that wasn't their score. Well, we'll see, but I'm not sure we've had the last of that controversy. Now, the foreign newspapers quickly. The Times. Ailing NHS has made us sicker, says Javid. Yes, ex-health secretary calls for a royal commission. Britons are sicker than many other Western countries as a direct consequences of the way the NHS is set up. Of course, Saeed Javid, in an article published in the Times of London, is making that claim. Of course, it's 75 years of the NHS. The NHS has always been a poster program of the UK government. Poster health care program for people in other countries to copy. But the NHS has its own challenges, and the former health secretary is calling for a royal commission to look at these challenges so that the NHS will remain a poster program on healthcare around the world. Now, the Guardian newspaper, Labour wants graduate-led nurseries to fight inequality. More graduate teachers will be parachuted into nurseries under plans being put forward by Labour Party to boost education at the level of under fours. Of course, the more nursery places could be introduced as part of primary settings, as part of the Labour's proposal to drive up standards and formally integrate early years in England into the educational system. Ruben, Rufai, and Ayo.
So I want to talk about the NHS and its challenges. But, despite the challenges of the NHS, which are numerous, let's even go back in memory lane. Why was the NHS started in the first place? A certain man called Walter Beveridge had written a report where he talked about 5 giants. And this was after the war, that if Britain did not fix the 5 giants, Britain will fall as a nation. And I hope our leaders can learn from this story I'm about to tell. The 5 giants were squalor, poverty, health, and a couple of other factors militating against the British people. And after the Second World War, the British people felt disgruntled at the fact that people that suffered injuries in the war, limbs fallen off and things like that, there was nobody to take care of them. So based on this recommendation, they set up a national health insurance scheme, which has fixed the problem. Till date, we see disaster in Nigeria, and it doesn't make us fix any problem. No matter how imperfect the NHS is, you can't compare it with our healthcare system here. It was because people said these 5 giants must not continue. We must fix them. There were many other things they fixed. They fixed housing. After the war, because a lot of homes were bombed in the Blitz, they started having prefab homes for people. When are we going to think and solve our problem? And I want to segue that into the fact that the Guardian headline, and happy birthday to Guardian, says economy awaits Tinubu's fiscal direction, uncertainty throws FX liberalization. Should we be talking about this now if we have thought about the interests of the people? That's what I keep saying. By now, before we make any giant stride as regards our FX liberalization, did we put all the necessary things in place, like even trying to spur economic growth? Look at the subsidy removal now. That's a good it's a good plan, but it has pushed a lot of people into poverty. Do we think of the poorest of the poor amongst us? So if there's anything we can learn from, it's incumbent on our leaders to be able to solve the problem militating against Nigerians. You see how Britain did theirs with the NHS. Despite its challenges, it's still a beacon of hope for a lot of British people. Their leaders still go to the NHS for health care. We all carried on Arise TV here when Boris Johnson had COVID and almost died. He was in an NHS Trust Hospital, St. Thomas, Tommy, as it's fondly called. Mm-hmm. But anything you see our leaders, they are quick to go abroad. Even the gains of COVID that we thought they were going to gain, because with COVID, they couldn't travel abroad for healthcare. I thought they were going to use that to improve our healthcare system. If you go and check our healthcare system, it's back to square zero now.
But our vice president then had a major operation here in Nigeria.
One of them. I'm looking forward to the day our president will stay here and get his healthcare, rather than keep going abroad. That's even if they are honest enough to tell us what is happening in Nigeria as regards the health of the president.
All right, very quickly, I'd like to congratulate the Guardian at 40. He highlights in the report the publisher's message at 40, and it just is a testament to the role and the importance of the media for a thriving democracy. In the past legends who had served at Guardian, who had written, Dr. Bati, your tribute is there. And Dr. Bati made a statement. He said they enjoyed the job so much, some of them forgot to take wives. They forgot to get married. That's how much pleasure and delight it gave. And it was
really,
Dr.
Bati? No.
I knew you were going to point to that.
You must have been talking of some other persons.
But I just wanted to emphasize the glory days, and perhaps that coming back. We have, obviously, newspaper of record, This Day newspaper, and other newspapers who stand up for the truth, and that under this administration, we must see the media strengthened. It is because of government. I mean, we know the role that the Guardian played, especially during the military era. As a young child, I used to read the Guardian, and even up until now, and other newspapers who have emerged, some of them as being birthed through the vision of the Guardian newspaper as well. I think it's an opportunity to say congratulations. Thank you for the work that media houses do in the face of stiff challenges and opposition, and still being able to tell the truth. And I would go back to the point yesterday made by our guest, which Rufai had addressed immediately, saying that one station was partisan. And in the report released by the EU, it was highlighted just how balanced and fair we were in terms of giving platforms to all political parties across board. In fact, Arise News, stood tall as one of the most balanced. So it's important to challenge ideas and thoughts like that. For democracy to thrive, we must have a strengthened and vibrant media.
Well, the temptation is to talk about the Guardian, where I spent over 20 years of my life, and where this man called Emmanuel Efeni, the great Malabite,
Yes.
also showed up, from Calabar. We all ended up at the Guardian newspaper.
Yes.
But first, I want to congratulate the editor of This Day today. That story, Tinubu's 30 men, 30 days, 30 challenges,
Yes.
and all the accompanying stories, great journalism. I read the stories. What the This Day newspaper has done today is to set an agenda for the Tinubu administration. And I hope that President Tinubu will be given the opportunity to read all the stories about those 30 days, 30 challenges, and the 30 men that he has put together. What has the newspaper done? That's This Day today. In the great tradition of agenda setting function of newspapers, is to say, well, in 30 days, this is what you have done. And everything is listed. Suspension of the CBN governor, managing labor, removal of fuel
Suspension
subsidy,
of the man who signs the naira.
suspension of
That's how it was
EFCC chairman.
titled.
All of that, listed. And then the newspaper, in accompanying stories, went ahead to talk about the challenges that the president faces. Poverty, managing poverty. The Nnamdi Kanu question. Inflation. How to address the challenge of productivity, which is a major problem in Nigeria. How to address the issue of infrastructure, bad roads, illegal migration, Japa, also some of the people even in immediate environment, some of them are looking like they want to Japa. So how does the president, keep talents in this country? And then the poor funding of the education sector. The newspaper praises him for introducing student loans, for example. But there is still crisis in the education sector. There is a challenge of national cohesion. So I think that, that particular front page, and the accompanying stories, excellent journalism. Shaka Mamadou, deserves a bottle of wine, which Emmanuel Efeni should make available,
of course,
on our behalf. That's that about that. So I recommend all those stories, front page to the accompanying stories, to readers. The second one, of course, is The Guardian. Congratulations to The Guardian. And I think that, look, we have to keep making the point that the beauty of The Guardian, the significance of The Guardian, is a vision of one man, Alex Uruemu Ibro, 1945 to 2011. Who made wealth very early and then decided that he needed to give back to society. And he set up this institution that has grown into a big institution that created jobs, created opportunities, provided, a lot of opportunities, not just for individuals. Because when you read the reportage today, okay, it's about individuals, but about many families that are connected for life with The Guardian, including your good self, Emmanuel Efeni, who is looking at me. You used to be there.
Yes.
You used to be one of our ace feature writers.
Yes, I started my journalism
because
there.
you were so good and you were poached. you were taken away from us by This Day. But in any case, the story is about the example of Alex Sebro, a man who gives back, a man who creates space for other people to realize themselves. And as I said in my commentary, he allowed us to do our work. He was very supportive. If he recognized a talent, he developed that talent. Now, after him, his wife and children, they've kept that institution going. And they've expanded into new frontiers. So there's also a lesson here in the Guardian example, beyond journalism, about succession. Leaders of businesses, entrepreneurs also must pay very careful attention to succession. Since 2011, The Guardian has continued to survive as a business, as an institution. And you can see the devotion, the commitment, the passion of the people, who succeeded my generation in that newspaper. So this is, something about business models that people can also learn from The Guardian. But of course, historically, The Guardian revolutionized media practice in Nigeria and provided a direction for other media houses in this country. It was a newspaper that fought for justice. It is still a newspaper that fights for justice for the voiceless, for equity, for fair play, for the rule of law, and free enterprise in this environment called Nigeria. And of course, many of the people who work there, you know, the best and the brightest that were attracted to the Guardian, including you, Emmanuel Efeni, who always remember their time at the Guardian. Finally, I want to congratulate OCJ Okocha, who has just turned 70. It was 70 on the 29th. And OCJ Okocha, former chairman of the MBA branch in Port Harcourt, former chairman of the Nigerian Law School, Nigerian Legal Council, chairman, body of benchers, OFR, SAN, JP, you know, at 70. This is one of our diamonds in Nigeria who has contributed so much to the legal profession and to the pursuit of justice and good governance in Nigeria. I saw him at the party they had for him in Port Harcourt, dancing, digging it to the left, digging it to the right. Please, some of these grandfathers, they should leave the space for some of us young men. If a man at 70 is digging it to the left, digging it to the right. But we thank God for his life. Yes. And the lesson that younger ones need to learn is about the example that he himself represents. Hard work, devotion, commitment. You know, he's an example to younger generations of lawyers and persons in the public space. We congratulate him. Thank you, Efeni. Yeah.
And it looked like a lot of lawyers had their birthday over the weekend. Over the weekend, too, was Dr. Wale Babalakin's birthday.
Oh.
Yes,
on the 1st of July.
Well, we congratulate everyone who can survive beyond the age of 52 in this country where life expectancy is so short.